Hey, what's up? This is Chosen with Raid Shadow Legends Champion Guides and Graphics. And in this video, we have got an important one. We're going to be talking about the Raid Promotional Champion, Ronda. And in this video, I will provide you with an HD infographic that you can find down below, encompassing all of the basic information about Ronda. We'll go over the stats, the kit, the masteries, how to build her, the best sets, and we will also go over her general context in terms of grading within a tier list, encompassing the whole game. Let's get into it. Alrighty, now Ronda is a very unique champion because she was actually featured as a promotional champion, a duo deal between Plarium and the UFC, where they brought Ronda Rousey as a champion named Ronda into Raid Shadow Legends, and she was a promotional champion from November of 2022 until February of 2023. So because of being a promotional champion, she is decently common in the Raid Shadow Legends community. So I wanted to make sure and get a video out here on our Champion Guides channel so that anybody who has her can look into getting some information about her. But there's also something very important to understand in relation to Ronda, and that is right here above my head. You can see the following champions cannot be summoned by any shard, and Ronda is right here where my mouse pointer is. So you cannot summon Ronda out of a shard. You have to get her as the promotional champion if you were playing Raid during that time and logging in actively. So that means if you are lucky enough to have Ronda on your account, congratulations. She is a very strong damage dealer, and she is a special promotional champion. That means since it's going to be really difficult to get duplicate versions of her, her empowerment is going to be by using Killian the Lucky to add into the Guardian Ring to give her those +1, +2 type of empowerment upgrades. And in my opinion, Killian is a decent champion. He's an all-right damage dealer, especially somewhere like Faction Wars. But I do think Ronda, at the time of me making this video, is a little bit better than Killian the Lucky. So if you are in a position to upgrade your Ronda, you have your Faction Guardians full and all of that, I don't think it would be a huge mistake to spend Killian the Lucky duplicates on upgrading your Ronda. And as we dive into some analysis of Ronda, remember down below, I will always provide you with the general breakdown HD infographic here on the channel where you can get the overview of Ronda really quickly. Then for breaking down the base stats and the kit here for Ronda, now she is a little bit squishy at that 14,800 HP and the defense of just over 1,000, but she has a really good base attack and some decent multipliers, so she can really crank up the damage. One nice thing also about Ronda is you do not need to build her with any accuracy because she does have some things that require accuracy, like block passive skills and block active skills and all of that. But since they both cannot be resisted, you can build her with 0 accuracy and just fully focus on the damage dealing stats like attack, crit rate, and crit damage. But as far as all of her abilities, the A1 is going to be a triple hitter, making it very good, somewhere like the Fire Knight, where you need to blast down the shield. And it's also going to place that 4th hit if the target has less than 50% HP. So obviously a very, very solid champion in the Fire Knight. But then you've also got other multi-hitters on both the A2 and the A3. The A2 is going to be hitting one enemy 3 times, ignoring shield, and getting a bonus kind of savage set, basically ignoring some defense passively. And we are also going to block passive skills for 2 turns before attacking, which can't be resisted. And we're going to block active skills for 2 turns after attacking, which cannot be resisted. So you kind of pick out one target, you ignore shield, you kind of CC them, you ignore defense, and you triple hit them, and you can book this to a 3-turn cooldown. So very good here on the A2. Then Ronda has an A3 that's a little bit more of an AoE ability, attacking all enemies 2 times and damage increasing by 30% if she has more than 50% HP. Also a passive here that is going to be immune to turn meter reduction effects when the skill is not on cooldown. So if she hasn't gone yet in an arena fight or whatever, she cannot have her turn meter reduced. And then also going to decrease all turn meter reduction effects used against Ronda by 50% when the skill is on cooldown. So no matter what, she's going to be a little bit more resilient to some of that turn meter negative effects on her. And then I love this passive right here, a 15% chance to join an attack whenever an ally attacks an enemy. And this champion will use the default skill. Obviously, anytime we have some sort of ally attack or counter attack, something like that, is typically going to be the default A1 ability. And then at the start of each round, place a shield buff on Ronda for 2 turns equal to 40% of her HP. So she has some mitigating factors to kind of help her in a PvP context if she's not able to go first on your team. And then also lots of damage, lots of multi-hitting, lots of passive utility that she brings as a champion, joining in and constantly in the action and all of that. A very fun and well-designed damage dealer that was introduced here as a promotional champion. But now let's head on over to the Ronda that I've got built here on my main account, and we'll talk about the optimal sets, the stats to look for, the masteries, and all the stuff that goes into building a successful Ronda. Okay, so for Ronda, you can see here, I have got the Savage and Speed sets. Now, anything that ignores defense is going to be a great choice on Ronda. So anything like the Savage set or the Lethal set, if you are farming it from the Doom Tower, the Dark Fate Astronix boss, great set to craft for her in the Forge. But Savage, Cruel, Divine Offense, Speed, stuff like that, going to be great options on Ronda to help her really crank out damage. So on the boots, honestly, in terms of the artifacts to put on her, you can go with attack percent boots. Now, if you need the speed on her, don't feel bad about putting speed boots, but she's got that really good base attack and all of that. So attack boots are a really good option. And that theme will hold true here as we go across all the gear. The same thing is going to be true. You're going to almost always want an attack percent chest on her, and then getting some of the damage dealing stats like crit rate, crit damage, and remember, we don't need accuracy. And then on the gloves, you just want to make sure you're synergizing your gear to have that full 100% crit rate. We want her critting on every single multi-hitter that she's doing, running in there, hitting like a machine gun. We want her always critting, so getting her to that 100% crit rate threshold is going to be very important. Then as far as the accessories down here, remember, like I said, no accuracy. We want to get attack on her to scale that up as fast as possible. A crit damage amulet is almost always going to be the best option. And then getting some attack and some resistance and some HP and stuff like that on the side. And then the ring, we usually just want to get as much attack as we can possibly get. Then as far as the booking process, Ronda is going to take 10 books. You've got 4 on the A1, you've got 3 on the A2, and you've got 3 more on the A3. Now, I think if you've got the books, she is worth it. She's a really good damage dealer, and she can be used in a lot of different areas of the game, and she's decently endgame viable. So I wouldn't feel bad about spending books on her. Obviously, the most important thing is to get the cooldown here on the A2 and the A3. So if you're trying to be like super budget and you save 1 or 2 books in the A1, I guess I could see it maybe, but it is a multi-hitter, so you're going to be getting that damage proc a lot. You're going to be getting that 3 times, maybe even 4. So if you use Ronda a lot, honestly, I don't think you got to feel bad about spending the books. Then as far as the masteries, let me flip myself over to the other side to make it easier to see, but I honestly think that there's a few different routes you can go. Giant Slayer is really good because she's got all those multi-hitters constantly proccing the different effects. I could see Helm Smasher maybe making sense just to help her ignore even more defense, but since we're already getting some of the ignore defense, I think it can be a decent approach to go with the Giant Slayer, but both of those options could be perfectly viable on Ronda, and it's just going to kind of depend on where you're using her for content. In like a more PvP sense, I could maybe see Helm Smasher, and then maybe in a PvE, like the Fire Knight or whatever, I could see maybe going with Giant Slayer. Then the rest should be pretty self-explanatory. And then remember, we always include the HD infographic down below if you would like to pull that up and see the masteries that were used in this video. But I believe on that infographic, I did have Helm Smasher on there. I built Ronda for a specific Fire Knight team that I was trying to put together, so I went with the Giant Slayer. But in general, I may lean towards recommending that Helm Smasher. So let's go ahead and showcase Ronda in action here a little bit. Now, she can be a decent campaign farmer and all that, obviously starting with that multi-hitter AoE right there, and then be able to crush down everything. But there's going to be a lot better campaign farmers in general. I just wanted to give you a quick look at her abilities here and let you see her animations. Very cool animations, and can be decent at clearing most content. That's what she looks like kind of farming the brutal campaign. But this is the context that I use Ronda the most on my main account, and that is the Fire Knight. Now, this is a special team that I built for a Shield Maidens female Fire Knight team competition that Plarium was doing with the different content creators, and I put Ronda in this team, and she absolutely shines and lights it up here as a blaster on that Fire Knight shield and coming in with all of the multi-hits. Now, when you're doing like a speed run like this, there can be a little bit of RNG to get Ronda to kind of use that in the corner passive and join up with the allies to crank out a bunch of damage on the Fire Knight. But you'll see all of her multi-hitters here that she can just help me blast down and be super viable even on Fire Knight 25 and even within the parameters of a specific team. So now we've got the shield down, and hopefully the Fire Knight won't get that shield back. There you go. You got Ronda doing all the multi-hitters, cranking out a bunch of damage, Allure suppressing the turn meter, and there was an in the corner proc. Look at that. That was like a bonus 130,000 damage that we got by Ronda joining in with the Lydia. Every time you see that in the corner pop up, it means that she's joining in to do that that A1 where you hit 3 or 4 times and just basically get bonus hits and bonus damage. We'll see if we can get that to proc again here. You're kind of looking at Ronda and you're waiting for in your corner to pop up. That means that she's joining in with someone else's ability. Okay, so that was her normal. There it is. Here it is right here. So she joined in with the Painkeeper, and right there got to run in and do that was like almost 200,000 bonus damage. So obviously an insane ability right here. She's joining it again with the Lydia. Yep. All of that bonus damage when it wasn't even her turn, enables me, even with a special parameters team, able to do it in like a minute 45 on the final stage of the Fire Knight's Castle. Now, as far as being a featured damage dealer in the arena, I think Ronda can be really good in that role, especially in the early game and the mid game. Now, once you get to the end game, there's going to be probably some better options for nuking, but she's totally viable in terms of being a really good PvP damage dealer on your way up into those higher tiers, like Gold 3 and Gold 4 of the Classic Arena. So I'll show you Ronda as the featured damage dealer here in an arena team. And remember, she gets that automatic shield. Look at that. So that is going to help her a little bit. It's not the most amazing thing to help her, you know, be the best champion in the arena or anything, but it is nice to get that extra HP and get that bonus shield. And then you'll see there when she gets her turn, she is going to default to using that multi-hitter AoE. And I can totally do enough damage to take down another team as long as I've got a decent team around her that can kind of keep her alive and play for the long haul. She ignores a lot of defense. She deals a lot of damage. She joins up with other champions with her in the corner passive. So she can definitely be the featured damage dealer here in PvP. Now, you do want to remember, she is a Magic Affinity champion, so when you're going up against somebody like an Ultimate Death Knight right here in this capacity, you can see that she's getting a lot of those weak hits. So she's not a Void champion. You do really want to pay attention to her affinity and maybe not go up against somebody like an Ultimate Death Knight. But if she's going up against a Spirit foe or a Magic foe or even Void, she can be perfectly fine as long as you've got her in the right team. So now the fun part, let's go ahead and pull up Ronda and talk about the overall grades here on the full tier list. Now, actually, let me raise that up a little bit so you can see. Okay, now, when we're talking about Ronda, she comes out as an overall rating of 70, which honestly is pretty good for a promotional champion and one that niches down to being a damage dealer. Then when we look at the overall grades, we've got the arena, pretty good in the early and mid game, falls off a little bit in the end game, really good as a featured damage dealer in Faction Wars. I think she'll be a solid choice for anybody's Bannerlord team. Doom Tower, Demon Lord, a little bit niche. She can definitely crank out a lot of damage in the Demon Lord. Hydra, same thing. She's all right, can do a decent amount. But in the dungeons, she's going to be the best in somewhere like the Fire Knight and is also viable in the Dragon. Her scarcity, I mean, she doesn't do anything crazy, but she is decent and she provides some fun things like joining in with attacks. Really good progression early game. Damage dealer falls off a little bit as you get into the super end game. But all in all, Ronda, a very, very solid champion when built right, and she can be good in a lot of different areas of content. Also, for her abilities, I think earlier I forgot to talk about her multipliers. It is very important to know the multipliers, obviously, especially on a champion like Ronda who deals damage. Now, we have got a 1.2 times attack on the A1, which sounds like it's really low, but remember, she hits 3 or 4 times. So we're going to be getting that multiplier all the way up to around a 4.0 on the A1, which is pretty solid. And then on the A2, you've got the 1.9 times attack, which can be even better. This thing can do a lot of damage and a lot of utility to a single target. And then on the AoE, we've got the 1.9, but remember that is also a multi-hitter hitting twice, so about a 3.8 there on the AoE. Not god tier. Like I said, she's not going to be the best arena nuker. There's going to be people that are better AoE nukers than Ronda, but her multipliers are totally viable for dealing damage, especially in PvE content. So that was our champion guide here on the channel for the promotional champion Ronda based on Ronda Rousey. And remember, I will provide a link to the HD infographic down below if you would like to pull that up on your end. And remember to subscribe on your way out if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends champion guides and graphics. I will see you soon in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.